The reason that like homelessness isn't, the top concern, the top priority of every government state agency is because like this economic system requires people to be homeless, requires unemployment. That's how it runs.
This is Miguel from WarmUp Boston, whom we've introduced in the previous episode, along with 4 other collectives: Sisters Camelot, Community Kitchen, Freedom Fighters Coalition, and Which City Action.
We're not like a charity, a nonprofit. There's a reason people join WarmUp Boston and not like a shelter or a soup kitchen. We see things beyond that model. Obviously, that hasn't worked. They've been at it for quite some time, and homelessness is still here.
This week, we will explore how they've built resilience and compassion in face of systemic oppression. Before we begin, we want to acknowledge that this episode was yet another collective effort. We want to thank Kristen B. for transcribing the interviews. The narrative was designed by Matvey and myself. Our platform is sustained by the broader Patreon community, which you can join for free at patreon.com/housinglast. I'm Isabel, your host for this episode, and thank you for listening. Let's get talking.
We are a collective that there are 7 members of the actual collective itself, and that there's nobody anywhere who's like a director or a board, or there's not like some person in charge or some people in charge.
This is Cole. Like other collectives, Sisters Camelot structures themselves horizontally. As a result, every member moves with greater responsibility and ambition.
In a way, the collective is in charge in the sense that we meet and make decisions together, but all of those collective members are directly involved with the actual work that's being done on the ground, which I feel like is actually pretty unique.
De-hierarchized structure extends beyond the collective's inner circles to the communities that they serve.
If you can build those relationships with those people who are working through the system right now, you're going to understand so much more about the system just by kind of being by their side as they work through it, in ways that you would never work through on your own. Like, you could do research about this all day, but the reality is that like what's written down and how things are supposed to work is never how they work in reality, because there's so many loopholes and so many of these weird little excuses that gets made for people who have basically no rights, who are homeless, that you would never see if you weren't with them, experiencing this alongside them.
This is Skylar with Which City Action. By horizontalizing communal relationships, Which City Action is able to deeply understand the struggles of their people.
Just like understand that like they are the experts in their experience, and like you should treat them with the reverence you would have for like a professor of homeless issues, like they are the people who know what's going on the street, and you have a lot more to learn from them than you have to teach them. So one of the asks that we had when we were first starting out a couple of years ago was somebody was living in their car, and she was like, what would be really nice is if I was able to do my laundry. And she came up with the idea of us doing a laundry day where we would basically take bags of laundry, go to the laundromat, wash them, and return them. And so it's like those kinds of things we're able to like know exactly what the community actually wants and act on it.
An accurate understanding of communal struggles allows Which City Action to peak their efficiency.
As an organization of people, they go out of their way to put themselves in every kind of food desert that exists in the cities. Like they deliberately, first of all, they change it up as often as possible.
Needs-driven action deepens the collective's community integration, and that further improves the efficiency of their actions.
It's not in one place. It's constantly changing. And sometimes it's where it's like, definitely the third Tuesday of the month, it's in Northeast or whatever, something to that effect. But they really get themselves around, which I feel like is really important as far as the food share part is concerned.
If you've got less sets of hands to help you out. You know what I mean? You can't go about how perhaps you distribute aid the same. So maybe it goes from you had a group of people that you were going out with on a weekly basis to pass stuff out, but now you don't have those people, but a community center that houses people that's looking for support, or another group that goes out weekly and does the same thing you were doing.
This is Ernst with Freedom Fighters Coalition. Evolving the needs-based approach drives Ernst to collaborate with the greater community, creating a synergetic network of communal care.
You may not be able to actually physically be with them on that day of outreach, but you can reach out to that group beforehand and be like, hey, this is what I can offer you, or I see this is what you're looking to get. I can get that for you. Where do we meet? And there you go. There's the aid. You weren't there to pass it out, but you got the goods for them. You gave it to an entity who is going to be able to pass it out for you, and now they're doing the work. And you're supporting them, and they're supporting the people, and it's just like everybody at the end of the day is getting what they were looking for.
Reciprocal networks foster a commons of care that leaves the fewest needs unattended. But accelerating oppression challenges the communities to maintaining their commitment to solidarity.
Thing about mutual aid is how much work there is to do. It never ends. These people who are living outside, surviving outside, are in constant need of help. So there is always something to do. We have 2 distros every week, and yeah, so it takes a lot of capacity, and that has been like one of the major challenges with WarmUp Boston.
Escalating crises push the collectives to their limits, and maintaining solidarity becomes an avalanche of stress.
Starting last year, they definitely saw an increase in sweeps. We did what we could to show up their support, focus on like saving as much of their belongings as possible, especially like their personal documents or like any like special items that they have, and just to like cut back on the amount of like physical labor it is to move everything you own. Like it is grueling to be forced to just get up and leave, especially when a lot of the residents we serve have disabilities, are older in age, and all of that like increases so much stress. It's a traumatic event like every single time.
Despite chronic stress, the collectives uphold their momentum.
When you need a break, you got to figure out a way to keep it moving, right? Because the people still need help, regardless if you need a break or not.
We do spend a lot of time like listening to residents during sweeps. It's definitely a lot of emotions, and we do our best just to be there and listen to them. We usually show up with coffee and breakfast sandwiches and even cigarettes to like help reduce the stress, and it does help a little bit, but can never take it fully away. And yeah, it is a lot for us too to hold that space for them.
The collective's dedication to aiding their community is unwavering, but exhaustion accumulates with detrimental consequences.
Burnout is always there. It's always a possibility.
The rate has spiked over the past year. They're all overwhelmed. They don't have time to be at the beacon all the time. They're overwhelmed with working out in the community, outside with people who are sleeping outside, or working with people who are doubled up, or say the tenant resource center. They have an office over on Winnebago, and they don't have it. They are overwhelmed as is.
This is Lindbergh from Dane County Homelessness Justice Initiative. He is a former community liaison at the Beacon, Dane County's largest daytime shelter.
It's overwhelming, and it's not sustainable. The people who are working there at the Beacon, they're overwhelmed, so they're getting sick a lot. They're calling in sick a lot. A lot of people are quitting, and then word gets out that it's not a good place to work, and then no one wants to apply to work there. And so it's just it's a problem that's growing and growing and growing and growing.
Many of organizations like this, there's like an amount of urgency that we can all feel where we want so badly to fix this issue. We want so badly to do it now. And that urgency and that stress leads to us treating each other pretty horribly, being like, oh, you showed up to your shift 5 minutes late and now I have to be here longer. Or some people are not pulling their weight around here, which I've experienced in other activist spaces where that leads to us then not having the space to really listen to other people about what they actually want from us, because we're living in that like very stressed, blamey urgency place.
Charities are being drained by burnout. Solidarity-based collectives share their challenges, but their communal resiliency allows them to adapt.
Having that sort of relational space within the organization where like a lot of what I think is really important is like welcoming new volunteers and being like, oh, what brought you into this? Who are you? What other skills do you have to come in here? Like, how can this be a warm space that people come to every week? And people will keep coming. I wish when I first started my activism journey that like I'd been able to think more about that, like the warmth and the kindness part, because like I grew up around that. I like my parents are hippies and they're activists, and I was like their whole like warmth and kindness stuff is bullshit because I'm angry now. And I am still angry. Having both is important. Like we need to be like, no, like you can't do that. We're not going to let you. Also, like think about what makes people feel cared for and like infuse that.
Grounded in compassion, solidarity-based collectives flow beyond survival and flourish upward resilience.
Pretty incredible how much, yeah, visibility we have. Our Instagram is one thing, but over last year, we spent a lot of time tabling events at shows, and other like block parties, um, and things like that. Uh, we've also like held a lot of like workshops on screen printing and zine making. And so like having a lot of community events helps with that.
WarmUp Boston strategized outreach towards communities already allied to the principles of solidarity-based organizing, multiplying the depth of their outreach.
If we want to come and we're excited about coming, we bring other people. We start thinking, what else could I do that makes me feel like this? What else makes me feel like so in community with other people? What makes me feel excited? Makes me feel powerful in a way that like the political landscape does not. We feel so powerless. So like once you start feeling that feeling, I think that a lot of people, including me, like started thinking like, what else can I do? What else is there? And so one of the things that I think is really special about Community Kitchen, but also some other organizations that we work with, is that like I feel excited about going and I look forward to it all week. And I want to tell everyone I know about it. I tell my barista when I go to the coffee shop, I tell my classmates that this is this fun thing I do and I would love to have you along. And then I do believe that like that leads to us having the same ethos with the people we're serving, of like bringing warmth and kindness and just like listening.
Effectiveness of the collective's outreach roots deeper than targeting the right communities. The foundation of compassion inherently fosters belonging, and that makes the collectives a welcoming space for all.
People are coming in our volunteers, and like they're coming in and maybe they don't have a space where they can be around other people that are masked. I know I came in, I'm an immunocompromised person, and I felt like I wasn't going to have a social space where I could connect with other people. People are coming in and they're queer people who are away from home, who are going to college. And that relational piece, I think, is needed to then build out an organization that can be kind, can be understanding, can listen to other people when there's that within the organization. Having kindness and warmth is what allows you to do that for other people.
Community Kitchen prioritizes belonging, raising access to join their struggle. That perpetually expands the breadth of their network.
We have been like very lucky with the amount of people who have signed up for our distros over the past year, really. Starting in the beginning of 2024, we saw a huge increase in people wanting to help out, and that means everything.
And that was another thing that I tried to do really hard when I first started with City Action, was try to be as open as humanly possible about as much as we could be open about, because, you know, we don't really have to be secretive. Like, we don't have to be using like super cryptography. Like, we don't have to be like running this kind of undercover organization when what we're doing is just like feeding people lunch and like, you know, doing their laundry. By making sure that our tech was accessible, it actually made it a huge difference in being able to organize with people directly impacted.
By strategizing outreach within allied communities and widening points of access, the collectives blossom a diverse community. But greater vibrance can become chaotic.
We're not like a monolith ideologically, but like I know that everyone who's there is there because they care about people and they want to make sure that people's basic needs are being met. Maybe we don't have the same language for the things we're doing, but I have that same knowledge about them where I'm like, I know they care about the same thing as I do, which is that we need to make sure everyone's basic needs are met, and we need to make sure that people are listened to and feel cared for.
To synchronize communal differences, the collectives set an explicit and unifying intent.
We can organize with people who aren't specifically leftists, which I think is really important, to just be prepared to work with people who are not completely ideologically identical to you, because a community is you and everyone who lives near you. And you have to be ready to organize people who aren't completely on your side, but you have to be ready to get them on your side or figure out what they can do next to you as opposed to like, you know, with you.
Prioritizing the impact of their efforts helps organizations synergize potential conflict into determined collaboration.
There's a lot of inner community stuff of like you can feel frustrated with different generations doing this organizing. Like I think there's a lot of push back and forth between like queer youth and queer elders, but like I to have there be room for more than one generation to be there and to think about like the different ways where we might be talking about the same ideas, and learning from them and also like sharing that thing. That's one of my favorite things about Community Kitchen, is that there's a lot of different people coming in to volunteer, and like I might not be like ideologically the same as them, and there's that same thing across generations. Like when I'm relating to activists of my parents' generation, they're seeing things so differently, they're approaching things differently, but like I do feel like we can learn so much from them like about tactics, about like approaching how to make things sustainable and how to keep a movement going for a very long period. And there are people in the Twin Cities who have been doing this work for a really long time.
We take great care in like encouraging how we communicate to each other and giving space to for people. We all know that this is like very new for everyone who shows up. A lot of times, mutual aid is people's like first step into political action, and we all show up here with so much to learn and to unlearn, and we really respect that. Just give a lot of care in that.
By achieving collective vibrancy, the collectives nourish an inexhaustible community.
Most of the time, I'll run into people who were also thinking about doing the same thing, but they didn't know where to start, or they needed more assistance, and they just happened to see my post, and they're like, you know what, that's something I was thinking about doing, but now let me just join up with you, and let's work on this project. And sometimes that's just a one-off thing, like, let me help you get this aid to the single individual. Or it's been other times where the same people have reached out multiple times a year, and they're like, I want to help with this, and I want to help with this.
Preventing burnout is a two-part equation. 1, the community must be broad enough to allow individuals to respite, and opportunities for rest must be designed purposefully.
We've been surprisingly stable going through this, and I think that's made possible by the amount of people that we have. Being able to have that capacity to show up every week, and for each like individual member, just learning how much we can, give to our neighbors and how much like self-care we need to give to ourselves. So I think that's like a very important project in itself.
Relationships instilled with sustainable reciprocity build upward resiliency in face of an ever-increasing demand.
I really just want to make it so that when you see a homeless person on the street, you feel personally responsible for helping them because you are, as a member of society with resources, like this is somebody in your community that you should have ownership of.
The collective sustenance enables a greater dedication to action, creating a cultural shift toward communal responsibility.
Because there's going to be some days where you'd rather probably be doing something else. But like, if you say you're going to do something, especially when it comes to helping out somebody else who's vulnerable and needs support, then you got to do it.
It makes me feel really proud of my city because sometimes there's like things where I'm like, this city sucks. But thinking when I like actually go through my mental thing of like all the organizations that are doing cool work, it makes me feel excited.
The collectives feel confident in their perseverance and grow optimistic about their success.
I know it's a super cliche saying, but like, put out the energy that you like to see from others in hopes that turns society into society for everybody.
We have to be able to like build the world we want to see, and we have to live in the world we want to live in. And so like if we want to live in a world where people will take care of each other, we have to take care of each other. And that's exactly kind of the ethos that I think Salem Survival Program and Which City Action kind of both share, is that like if we want to get stuff, if we want to have a world worth living, and we have to make it.
Optimism empowers ambitious visions, and they invite the collectives to lead with courageous responsibility.
Anybody has the ability to be able to go out and help, right? Like, you don't need a social media presence. You don't need like a legitimate nonprofit, which, I mean, it's helpful having a legitimate nonprofit, and it's helpful to have like a social media presence. But like, you could walk outside your house right now and come across somebody, either they are vocally telling you they need support or they look like they need help. Whether you give them $1 or you just give them kind energy, that's you doing the work, right?
The collectives remain limited in their resources and power, but their compassion-based solidarity makes ending homelessness feel inevitable.
We're building, we're fighting, doing everything we can. It's got to make something happen, you know. This shit has to end, right? Don't have a lot of other options.
This week, we explored how principles of solidarity bloom resiliency that extends beyond survival. Such structures are rare within the charity complex, but are necessary for confronting and ending the ever-escalating homelessness crisis. Housing Lasts is sustained by the broader Patreon community, which you can join for free at patreon.com www.ecc.org/housinglast. I was your host, Isabel. Thank you for trusting us with your time and attention. Until next episode, take care.